In today's podcast of Data for All, let's get ready to rumble. Kind of cheesy, huh?
Well, it's good. No, it's like I couldn't look at you, but I was listening to it.
Oh, well, good. Welcome to the Data for All podcast. I'm Charlie Pigian.
And I'm Charlie Yielding, where we want to empower you to think different with data.
And today's podcast, we're having our first data rumble, our first throwdown, our first data gauntlet, our first, I don't have any other ones to go with it.
That's probably good.
Yeah, that's good. Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to ask, what do you mean by data rumble? Because I've never heard that before.
Well, we're starting season 2, and what we wanted to do was just all the different words that we keep hearing. We know there's always like 2 different versions of them. And so we're just going to kind of go through some of the ones that we know. And because, it's great to have the 2 Charlies on this, but we decided, we have a good friend that has an opinion on these things as well. And we kind of just threw him into this. And he has no idea what we're going to be doing today. But our good friend, Colin Callahan, decided to join us. Welcome, Colin.
Thank you, Charlie.
Good luck.
I'm not prepared at all.
That's what makes this first episode so much fun. Why are we already giggling? I don't know. But Colin, if you don't mind, just tell us a little bit of who you are and what you do and your favorite color and ice cream. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm not prepared for this either. All right, so my name's Colin Callahan. Lived in Nashville for about 22 years. Before that, Los Angeles. Before that, Boston. I was a software developer in 2000. 12 years ago, I started the software development company, Ackland Avenue. And here we are now. Met Charlie somewhere along the way.
Yeah.
And now we're playing ping pong.
That's right. This is my ping pong buddy.
Yeah.
And him and I are really close. And then we'll bring in, Zach. Mm-hmm. We've had him on one of the episodes. He now just destroys us. He's got this spin that's ridiculous and things like that.
Can't wait to wreck you guys.
Yeah, but and today we're going to just have some fun. But to be serious a little bit, I think what Colin's story, what's so amazing is he can point back to when he was a barista and what am I going to do with my life? And you just happened to go take a coding class.
Yeah, well, I was sort of doing some deep work on my brain as well at the time, and I had one of those moments, the aha moments that people talk about. Well, I think they're real. So right around that time, again, I was doing some work, and one of the things I thought was, why am I stuck just being a barista or working in a bar? I can't seem to get out of this. I'm a little bit stuck. So I did some work, and it had a big impact on me. And right around the same time, I took a programming class and realized that I liked it quite a bit and that I was really good at it pretty quickly.
Nice.
So, yeah.
Yeah, and now Ackland Avenue is one of the most respected software companies here in the Nashville area and has a really unique business model. And probably my favorite part of the business is that Colin, as CEO, is really focuses on his employees and making sure that they live the life that they should be living. Now you have a lot of, you will actually create teams in other countries and train them. And so there's a lot of really, really cool stuff you guys are doing.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah,
right, that's enough for you. No, I'm just kidding.
Just to say a little bit about that, our values, one of my favorite values is bring out the best in others. I just noticed that the reason that I started the company was I started working with a friend of mine, and he was the co-founder at the time. And I noticed that I was a lot better at my job working with that person that brought out the best in me. And so then as we grew, we decided that was going to be a key element in what would make us successful, is just to create a space where we could bring out the best in people.
That's cool.
Gotcha. Yeah, and I know you live that, and I know a couple of the people that work for you, and they sing your praises for that. So
that's good to hear.
So yeah, no more nice stuff. Let's rumble for the rest of the time, right, Charlie? Well, wait, Charlie, what's we're now into the second season, and we're allowed to be a little bit more relaxed, aren't we?
Yeah. So we're going to take a chill approach and just have a conversation around what's good and what's not, with not just vocabulary, but we've got some other stuff we're going to be looking over too, right?
Yeah, and let's set up this second season a little bit, since what was season one? Well, season one was just the first 10 episodes. It wasn't like we took off 6 months. It was only 2 weeks ago. But what we're dedicating to now is, we wanted to get 10 under our belt, and we think of that as our foundation. And then from that, now we are wanting to dive into industries. And so you're going to hear what we're calling the Data In episodes, where we'll get into data and how it relates to music, news. Even we have one coming up for bourbon, believe it or not. That's going to be fun. So diving into industries, we'll start diving into technologies. But also we want to just have episodes where it's almost like a little bit of catch up, a little bit of feedback from our listeners out there. And also, this is actually today's episode was because of a couple of people that reached out to us and said, hey, I think it'd be cool if you guys debated some different topics. And I was like, I love it. Let's make it a Data Rumble. And that's where we are here today.
Yeah. So this is going to be our first attempt at it. So good luck.
Good luck.
But,
Thanks, guys.
I do feel like it's important to point out that those first 10 episodes were really about building the foundation for the conversation that we're having or going to have, because there's a lot of vocabulary that goes into that. There's a lot of like basic understanding that you have to get into some of the future conversations we're going to have.
Yeah.
And then today it turns out that we're going to settle some disputes.
We are. But can I share a couple of cool little things?
Heck yeah.
So about 20 minutes ago, I just got a text message that my son is engaged. I got the picture. How neat is that? My first child, Jacob, is now officially engaged to an amazing girl named Noemi, and they're going to get married in like a couple of months. So we got
really?
a lot of work
Crap.
to do. Yes. Wait a minute. This is the new generation. My son is an engineer, and so we already have the place booked. They've already gone and looked at things. We were just waiting for the ring to be delivered. So today was not as much about getting engaged as it was a ring unveiling, is the way I like to think of it. So they've known for a while that they're going to get married.
Well, congratulations.
Well, thank you so much. Yeah, there's been a lot of wonderful transition. I'm like a week away from moving into a new home, and I want to share that stuff with our audience because I'm going to smartify this home.
Yeah.
And as I go through that journey, I know that'll be something that we talk about. We'll share that kind of stuff. I bought my first piece of smart equipment that will be going into that house.
Nice.
And so I wanted a floodlight that also had a camera on it. And so I looked at, there's like 50 different versions out there. And I talked about Eufy, that's EUFY, on our Christmas episode. Remember, that was a company I'm using. Well, then they kind of got in a little bit of trouble.
Yeah, they were storing stuff remotely that they were not supposed to be.
That they said when, so I'm like, okay, but then I was like, I want one that's a little bit different. And so I went with a company called Arlo, ARLO, and I'm going to give them a try. And
Cool.
so I'll keep everybody up to date. So as we get going here, I'll let you know how my smartifying a home goes.
I'm actually looking forward to that because there's no standard way to approach it these days.
No, but I'm setting up my own rules. And the rules I have right now are I'm going to use HomeKit. So I'm going to stick with Apple. I want one ecosystem. I want everything to work within that. That's my first rule. And then I do not want 18 different subscriptions to things. Anyways, that's a little bit of what's going on with me. Anything these days for you, Charlie, that's new and exciting? And other than we went over to Charlie just a little bit ago, and there was about 50 people outside. Got a little bit of work going on at the house, and
I live in a construction zone. Like it's been that way since October. I don't have my full wardrobe or a bedroom or a kitchen right now. It's been that way for a while. I know that there's an end date, and there's some, I keep up with the milestones. And so they just put in the drywall and the trim is going up, and it's sealed off now for the first time in 4 months. And so that's pretty cool. But every time I think about like, I'd like to make a sandwich,
And you can't
Then I
make
get
a
sad.
sandwich.
We do have a little room that kind of is my office and the kitchenette thing. And so we've got a panini maker in there and a toaster and a microwave and a tiny fridge. But that's it.
Is there an end in sight?
March-ish.
2 weeks.
Ish. Yeah.
March isn't that far away.
Yeah. I'm not letting my mind connect to that goal yet because I don't want something to come up at the last minute and stall it by another month. I don't want to get my expectations too high, but the company we're working with is really good though. So that helps.
And construction or building a house, going through it is awful. But then you see the final result, and it's amazing how you completely forget about the pain that you just went through during that.
Yeah, I can't wait. Thanks for reminding me.
Yeah, you're still in pain though, aren't you?
Very much so.
I am really seeing the end of the road here. This has been a 15-month build for us, and great builder as well. We've had a great experience, but that doesn't mean it wasn't painful.
Yeah, we started the process in early 2020.
Oof, yeah.
But the pandemic delayed a lot of that, and then wood prices went up.
I feel like the outcome always determines how you feel about it in the future. You suffer a lot, and then if it turns out right, then you're like, oh, wasn't that bad? But if it doesn't, just like buying out a business partner, which I know a little bit about.
Yes. Yes, you talk about a 2022 to remember.
Crazy.
Poor Colin. But you are fully owned by one solely owned company now.
Yep.
That is amazing. I see Charlie going, what? Huh? What?
Yeah, like I want to ask questions about that, but I don't know if that's cool.
We'll find out.
Okay, so do you own the company anymore?
Yeah. Well, actually,
So you are the sole.
Charlie meant that I bought out my business partner.
Okay,
last
so
year.
so you did buy out your partner.
I did. Yeah.
That's cool. Was it under? Was it just time, or did something make it time?
All right. I just think that it's sort of the back and forth between the lawyers, and I'm one of the reasons I started a business was because you can get things done fast. But then if you stick two lawyers in between it, even if they're really good, it just the communication takes probably 10 times longer.
yeah.
And then reading over legalese and stuff like that.
It's a skill.
Not fun. Not fun at all.
So that process was, but, and we don't want to get into anything because we've already got a band episode. Isn't that funny to think of? We're going to talk about it every episode from now on, but
You said band again.
band
and I'm
again. I've done this twice. So band, B-A-N-N-E-D.
Band from TV.
Yeah, I'll do band. I'll do like a big cross every time I do it now. We did an episode and we've been asked not to air it. So that's because we were so risque.
It was the one that was going to be episode 11.
Yes. And so so you're the fill-in. No, I'm kidding. You were going to be 14 is what you were going to be. And now you're 11. So there you go.
You're hoping that I'm not going to get you banned as well.
Don't you get us banned. Don't take this to your lawyers. No, and what it was is, we want to bring people on that are in the heart and soul of the data part of their companies. And I guess we went too far.
Yeah, I mean it happens. Like we're walking a line between like what's happening and then the perception of like how things work.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you what, we got some great nuggets. And, I just wish we could share it.
We may in the future.
It wasn't that earth shattering, but
At this point we've been asked.
Yeah,
but
that's true.
Like we're playing cool because the guest was super nice and he was knowledgeable.
Yeah.
Very knowledgeable.
For sure. And
I bet people wish they could listen to that episode.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Well, you know what? If people continue to listen to this and we find out that they did, and maybe we'll just release it to maybe we start like one of those Patreon things and you get to listen to it only if you're a subscriber.
That's probably something you can do.
Or we just give it out to the masses. We'll see. But at this point, don't get us in trouble, Colin.
I'm trying to figure out who it is.
That's the point. We're trying to do that.
Was it Richard Branson?
See? Oh, yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. It's I can't tell you who. Not.
So we'll tell you off air.
Okay.
That's the first time we've ever said that too.
Ooh, an off-air comment. All right, are we ready to rumble?
Yeah.
All right. So I got to get you got to. So let's put an act down here for a second. So you need to say, okay, Charlie, let's get ready to rumble. So I can get into it.
So let's get into the data rumble.
Let's get ready to rumble. Is that good?
Yeah, yeah. Just so everybody knows, he's super excited about that, and I was apprehensive to begin with, but after hearing it, I approve.
You're like my let's get. Yeah, it's pretty good, isn't it?
Yeah,
like I
I
could
like
do
it.
that for a living. So let's set up the rules that we'll probably break as we get going here. But what we're really talking about is we keep hearing people say, is this one way or the other? And I'm trying not to give things away yet. And so, those are things that are always fun to talk about and definitely something for the beginner in data to hear. So we're going to start with some very fun ones. And Colin, it's like there's a couple of softballs. Then we're going to get into more of the personal ones, and then we'll get into more of the data-centric ones. How does that sound? So we're starting ourselves up, and if we're going to start with the fun ones or the most generic thing that we can do, again, one versus another, it is, how do you say the word data? Is it data or data, or is it even datum with D-A-T-U-M? And what does that even mean? So I know how I say it. We'll start with Colin. Colin, are you a data or a data? And can you tell the difference?
Yeah, I think I've always said data.
Yeah.
And you're from where originally?
I'm from Boston.
Yeah.
And when I heard the word data at that point, I would just get really bored because I was not so interested in it at that time. So
Completely fair.
yeah. Yeah. I didn't realize how awesome it is
That's right.
just now.
Charlie, what is it?
It's data.
Data, which is surprising because the South, I'm hearing data a lot.
Well, see, I didn't learn data in the South. I guess I did, but it's like the cities are different than the country is. So if I was talking about data before I came out, I may say, so they say data? I don't know. I don't remember many people saying data, because when you say data, then people look at you weird.
Well, I've got a good friend from Mississippi, and he says data, and so that's why so I've never heard that until I came to the South.
Yeah, I'm not sure I've heard that many people say data, but I have heard a lot of people say database, right? So
Instead of
database. So I think,
database. Yeah, I
yeah.
gotcha. Well, how do I say it? Database. No, I say database.
I think I say database, but you might catch me out saying database at some point. I think.
Well, it is definitely the word data. Then we're all kind of on that agreement. Can I tell you?
Well,
one
it's like tomato though. Do you care? That's the actual question. Do you care if somebody says data?
I look at you a little differently.
Do you?
Like I think you don't know.
Do you for real?
Like you're not one of us.
Okay.
I don't know. There's a couple of words that if you say it a certain way, we're getting to the next one here in a second. Where to me this is a funny one. The next one, but to finish this one out, I know somebody that says dater.
Data. Oh,
Yikes.
I know some. I grew up with people who said
they
data.
should not.
So it may have been a former president of a university I worked at. I don't work at that university anymore, and he would introduce me as the data science person.
There's people that say like wash your hands and stuff.
Wash,
and it's
wash.
the same thing.
Yeah, my
to me,
grandmother
that would be
used
the
to say
same
that
thing.
too.
Yeah.
Worse dater. And so, I think what you get from this is why we're going into, I think data is probably more of a northern sounding thing. Data would be more from here. I notice in the South, people pronounce things differently, like insurance versus insurance, and so there's the, you notice the little things, and I think the data versus data one is just a fun one to start with. I don't want to belabor it too much, but
We can get weird with our vowels.
oh yes, absolutely. So is data, going to the second one, plural or singular? This one I literally have debates about.
Well, my understanding is it's both.
Well, what's the alternative? So what's the alternative plural for data?
Data.
Data is plural in the English dictionary. If we look it up right now.
Yeah. So what's the argument then if everybody knows it's data?
Sentence structure. Think of that.
Uh-huh.
What are data or what is data?
Is?
Okay, that makes it singular.
Because I'm always thinking about a sort of
Okay.
a body of data. And so I think that's where that came from. And when I hear people say, what are the data? I'm not sure where this came from. I have a theory that the first time you hear somebody say something a certain way. If you don't like them, that's that you're like, I don't like how that is. So I heard somebody say that, what are the data? And I don't think I liked them because I was like, and sort of like you were saying, Charlie, like they're not one of us.
That's right.
But it's totally wrong. I mean, I was listening to a podcast the other day, Andrew Huberman. I don't know if you guys listen to that, Huberman Labs, and he said it. And I like his podcast quite a bit, and he's really smart. So I think it made me feel different.
It flipped you back the other side?
Yeah.
Okay.
The same thing about like, here's my theory on pants and pant, right? I hate these ads that say, this is the best pant that you can find. It's just, it sounds really pretentious to me. And then they always say, these pants are a game changer, or this pant is a game changer. It's like, no, it's a pair of pants. What is it?
Yeah.
Don't change any game.
Well, that's kind of like when you go to a store, like in Michigan, you're from Michigan if you end every name of a store with an S. So I go to Ford's, I go to Myers, I go to Walmart's. That's a Michigan person.
Huh.
Kroger's.
Kroger's, yes.
Sure.
Yeah, I didn't know Kroger's. I thought Kroger had an S until I moved to the South. I mean, seriously, like I always had Kroger's.
Oh, yeah.
That is a thing. So I just asked ChatGPT this question. I've got it up on my screen. I've been playing with it a lot lately. Is data plural or singular? Data is neither singular nor plural.
What?
It is a collective noun. So here's my thought on it. To give you a little bit of context, I've had two people in the last, let's say 6 months, email me correcting me that data is plural. And because I will always say data is. And so if you go to my website, belmontdata.org, you'll see data is all over the place. Data to me, when I talk about it, especially in the context of this podcast, it is a concept, right? It is, I'm talking about data more as a industry, as a discipline, so to me that's singular. So for me to say data are doesn't make sense. And I don't know if I'll ever say data are, but I do think that data, if I'm thinking of a data set, is plural.
Yeah.
So, but I usually say data set, is usually what I'll say. So if I'm referring to a data set, I could see me thinking of that as plural. But if I'm talking about it as the concept or the discipline, I mean, literally I teach data, right? That to me is singular at that point. And it sounds like ChatGPT actually agrees with me.
I actually, when you say data set, that's when I think it's singular. It's like one entity of data. So if I think of
it makes sense too.
But you're changing the noun though.
What's that?
You're changing the noun though.
Yeah, but that's just how I tend to think of it. When I think of data, my brain is always thinking about a data set for whatever reason. Maybe that's just because that's how I thought of it when I first heard the word data. But then when I think of the plural, I think of the individual data points that I would say, that's the plural side of it.
Yeah. So we're shushing you. So if the people out in the real world, if I say data is, don't send me an email. And I've emailed both of those people back with my concept of it.
I'm sure you did.
And one was a business person, and the other one was in I think a music or usually it's English related.
Oh, these weren't academics?
One was.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And it was a new faculty member, and he sent me that, and I'm like, dude, man.
A business person, like you don't send grammatical corrections to people via email.
But that is definitely an academic thing. But
yeah, unless you're an academic.
Think about it. A first year, and nothing against, like, I'm not like trying to toot my own horn here, but a first year professor sending an email to somebody that's been doing data for 20 some years and correcting them. I thought that was kind of bold. And the first thing, what I said, how I ended that email? I'd love to have coffee with you. I'm just like, dude, if you're that bold, I want to meet you. He didn't reply.
Yet. Because you corrected him.
Now he's going to hear this, and yeah, for sure. All right. So according to ChatGPT, you can be plural, you can be singular, but folks, if you're out there and you're going to ask what is data, say what is data. Don't say what are data.
I might actually start saying what are data.
Oh, you do that on this podcast?
I was just thinking. Like I could get with it if it's specific, like what you're talking about.
You want to set a trend? Because I'm telling you, everybody in the data world says, what is data? So we could set a new trend right now.
I don't have to set trends. I just do what I want.
Well, but you're a trendsetter because you're the other Charlie, and
Isn't that what I just said? That's what I just said.
that you're a
I'm a
trendsetter.
trendsetter.
You're a trendsetter.
I was trying to be fancy. Never mind.
Yeah.
In the
didn't work
software
out.
development world too, I don't feel like I've ever heard anybody say what are the data.
Yeah.
In a professional sense, yeah, but I'm not. I would also argue that we are potentially behind.
I don't like that.
Yeah.
Well, and we'll have to as we get into like the AI type terms as well. How do you say those correctly? We'll have to figure all that out. All right, let's get into more personal ones. You guys ready?
All right.
All right. Behind the scenes, I wish I had like a ding, 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 ding. I need to get our in our future episode. We're going to have Data in Music and a friend of ours from Soundstripe, and we should have been getting his SFX type stuff. His what do you call that?
We'll just have to do
Sound
subscription.
effects. Couldn't think of sound effects. SFX. That's what it's labeled on his website. So I couldn't think of the real
Well,
name.
before we jump into the next one, I've got a surprise one that I'm dropping.
Okay, yeah, absolutely.
Is it GIF or GIF?
Ooh, he goes there this early.
And the answer to the question may like be detrimental to my future in this group.
In other words, you will not like us if we give the wrong answer.
Yeah, absolutely.
There is a right answer.
It's like a
is?
-1. Yeah, you'll get a -1 on the friend scale if you don't answer correctly.
So I ask Chat GPT at the same time and see what happens. Go ahead.
No,
What is
it doesn't matter
'Cause
what
I know
ChatGPT
what the right
says.
answer is.
There's a lot of pressure here. I always said GIF, and then as soon as people started saying GIF, I got angry because that's peanut butter.
That's exactly
answer.
exactly the correct answer.
That is my answer. All right, so that's not fair. But so there's a lot of people that say GIF.
Yeah, and they're wrong. They're very, very wrong.
I'm so glad you said that.
All right, let's see. What does Chat GPT
I've literally
say?
said that before. I said that just the other day. I was like, GIF is peanut butter. GIF is a graphical user or graphical whatever it's called. It's the G is graphical.
Yeah.
You don't say graphical.
Wait, so what's a hard G?
What's a hard G?
Yeah, what pronunciation wise? What is
Is
a
this
hard
joke?
G?
I have no idea.
No, I'm being serious because that's the
what the
definition that's
is.
coming.
Hard
Is
G.
it's a hard G.
It's a
I would
G.
say G. Yeah. If we're guessing here, G is a hard G.
J
It's like a J. That's a J. That's a.
yeah. All right. So hard G is GIF.
You actually got +2 points.
Good.
All right.
Instead
Because of the
-1.
peanut butter.
Yeah, because of the.
So is that the game? We're like trying to persecute our poor Colin here today,
Well-
or are we like
So on the friend scale, like we're just like we're going up and down as we get to know each other, and so you were going to get the negative, but instead you get the +2, and so we can actually translate that to the game too. So you get a lot of good points on that one.
Awesome.
So we'll call you in the lead right now.
Feel good.
because we've agreed on everything else, but this one.
I was a little worried.
All right. Well, asking Chat GPT again. I won't do this the whole time, but a hard G is a sound made with the letter G that is pronounced with a firm G.
Like goat.
Goat. Yes. Rather than the J sound. That is literally
Or graphical.
so. It sounds like even AI agrees with us that it is GIF, and GIF is what I'll continue to use every morning on my piece of toast.
Okay.
Definitely.
You had me worried there.
I am a huge yes, yeah. I'm peanut butter is like peanut butter and hummus is what I live on.
We've had this conversation. You do chunky peanut butter, right?
And I've gotten away from it lately because I got this really good one that's got like 18 different seeds in it from Costco that I really like. And so that's way too much information about my peanut butter.
You don't mix the hummus with the peanut butter, right?
No, I do not. No. But
that a thing?
Peanut butter in the morning, hummus at night makes for a good day. Mm-hmm. Sure, I don't know. All right, that's a good one though. Excellent one, and so feel free to add as we go here. So if we're going into more of the personal ones, so this is preference type stuff. So this isn't like one word versus another. It's what you do. So this is our personal throwdown. Our personal throwdown. Was that pretty good?
Yeah. No, I'm telling you, you're good at that.
I got right. I got a new career coming.
When you say good,
Good or J? No, yeah, no.
Yeah, you're very good at that.
I'm very good at that. All right, personal throwdown. Here we go. I won't do that again either until this time. All right, passwords. Let's start with passwords because we've hinted at this, and I get a lot of people intrigued when we start talking about passwords and things like that. From a data perspective, if we're capturing data, Obviously, passwords are important. So,
Well, I think it's important to set the frame of mind of what passwords are now. Is they're literal keys to our stuff.
Yeah.
And so you keep keys on a keychain.
yeah.
And so having a password strategy is like something that we've got to agree on first. Like, do you have a password strategy?
Yeah, I use a password management system.
Same.
1Password.
Yeah. Yeah. But within 1Password, first of all, what is your password?
It's my
You almost like was going to answer.
it's a bad time
Yeah.
to tell you with the passphrase, right?
Yes. But do you still within there, do you use all the randomly generated ones that 1Password gives
Oh,
you?
same.
Yeah, I do that. And when I first started using it, I also went through pretty much all of my old passwords that were like, name of a dog from when I was, 5 or something like
Yeah.
that, and swapped them out for the generated ones.
So my kids started using my ones that were my go-tos.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, oh, that's when my password
Yep.
strategy changed.
My wife copied mine.
Ooh, yeah. And I'm like, everybody was using this one that I had, and it wasn't very good, right? Because back in the day, they were sort of words with your dog's anniversary at the end of it.
Nobody was
something.
talking about brute forcing your passwords back then.
That's right. And so today it's a lot different. I'm going to admit, this is terrible for me to say. I don't do all randomly generated. I don't. I should. Probably because I'm sharing so many passwords with people internally in my family. In other words, the Netflix account, is my kids want that too. So I can't give them the 20-digit one for that. But if it's something that's just mine, I let 1Password create it. And because I've got 1Password on every device I have, everything I have, or I have it readily available. But there's nothing worse than trying to type that sucker over to something else. But I don't think I ever have that instance. I think I always have the ability to access 1Password now that it's embedded in the new iOS. It can be one of your selections. So do you have it like on your phone, 1Password, or
I have it on my phone.
the Apple?
Have it on my
keychain?
phone. Have it on my Mac. And then
So you bought both licenses?
I did, yeah. And do they have like a family version? Of
They
that?
do.
They do now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They do. That makes
I
sense
recommend
for-
it for sharing with kids and stuff.
Yeah, the Netflix stuff, but also like at this point, you can just scan the what do they call that thing? Again?
QR code.
The QR code.
Yeah.
Just to log into the TV there that way. So
Oh, that's true.
That's getting
Yeah, that's
fancier.
true.
I like it too, though, because they know, like when you go to a hotel, it's like, oh, I got to type in my password and stuff.
Yeah.
Everything. I think most of the stuff on my TV now, I think is just like you got to log in through your device.
yeah,
Yeah,
like that.
and I think that does a lot of good stuff. So the people out there, then there's people that use 1Password, like a password for everything,
Yeah. So
and that's probably still most of the population.
I call those family passwords.
Yes,
It's like everybody knows that this is our password and
Yeah.
we use those.
everybody
And-
and the neighbors and
Anybody
friends.
who's ever like logged into your account and all that kind of stuff.
so I think it's good to. I think we should do an entire episode on password management.
Yeah, I'm sure
I
we
really
will.
do. But I think it's good to give some general tips, just since we're talking about this. And I'll just start with it. And Charlie, you've really thought through the whole password thing when you've shared with me. I feel like you've got a pretty good system.
I'm disciplined with it.
You absolutely are. But number one, do not have a password that you use for all of your accounts.
Not anymore.
One specific one. So let's say it's catdog123. Even if you change the A to an @ sign, don't use that for everything, because if one account gets hacked, trust me, the people out there know that, and they're going to go to every bank and take your username or your email and try that specific password and try to get into every bank out there until they find your bank, knowing that most people, if they use it on Netflix or they use it for their Gmail account, they're going to use it for their bank as well.
Well, it's also important to point out how they get it. So every time we see on the news that like the company A or company B has exposed your personal data, that means passwords. Like there are different levels of exposure, and username and password is like the first level.
Yeah.
Social security numbers is a bit higher. EMRs is a bit higher. But your password's out. And so if you use one of those, and like, the one password app will come up and say, hey, this has been compromised. You need to change it.
Yeah.
So that's a little confusing actually, because they're not supposed to store passwords. They're supposed to store them encrypted, right? So how do they get that? Because they're not. You're not even supposed to be able to decrypt them, because it's actually not encryption. It's like salt and whatever that is. So how would they actually get the passwords from the database?
So they're usually phished. Like phishing is 9 times out of 10.
Oh, okay, got it. Yeah, that's right.
So
You're
phishing,
entering it,
So phishing is just like your emails that you get. Like, so I'm talking to you, but I'm really talking out here, like because But they get into your email by sending you emails that either look like, they can be anything. It's all like scam stuff though. And so like my employees have gotten emails from me saying, hey, this is whatever. So then you click on the link and then it's just like, oh, you need to log into your Microsoft account, and then they get the username and password, and then they gain access through that. And then they just do exports and all that kind of stuff. And so it's really low tech when it comes to like the actual actions that go into it, but they can still get it.
Yeah. Yeah. So they're not finding.
It's not like out on the internet.
Yeah. Yeah. Got it.
Yeah. And I think,
it is after they get it.
Yeah.
But
yeah. And I think the idea is that'll be our one sneak peek on passwords. I mean, I think this season 2, we plan to do a one on passwords, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that'll be something we really get into. But number one is watch out for the one password. And that doesn't mean the app 1Password. But I recommend LastPass, 1Password are the only two that I really know out there. I would do more than just storing things in your Google browser. Even though I know that, so a lot of us store in could be in Google Chrome. Then you have your Apple keychain, and then you have 1Password. So watch out for that, because that can also be a problem as well. Because yes, having it in 1Password is one thing, but then the minute you save it into your browser, now it's in 2 different places. So that's another thing to definitely watch out for.
It also makes life easier. You've got them stored there. You don't have to remember them. You don't have to try and figure out. You don't have to even try and figure out, a solid password, because the system will do it for you. As soon as you go back to that URL, it knows it can fill in the boxes for you, and you don't even have to type it in. So
Well, I think the problem is that not everybody understands what you just said.
Yeah.
And so it's like, I know people who are not technologically focused or whatever. And so trying to get them to do that is just like, I can't even keep up with the passwords I got. How am I going to remember random passwords? It's just like, well, it's basically the same thing. But yeah, ultimately you don't, because you just start using an app. You start using an official source to hold those things. But then there's a discipline that goes along with that. And if they don't upkeep the discipline, then it gets wonky. And then what good is it anyways?
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to keep moving on. I'm going to go to the Apple, Google, and we'll call it Microsoft ecosystem kind of stuff. And so we'll stick to phones first. We'll do computers. We'll talk privacy. And Apple, are we all iPhones?
You are both. I'm a reluctant iPhone user.
Oh, so your preference. Okay, so that's good. So you're in the what makes the Google phone? I'm assuming it's a Pixel or something like that.
It's a Pixel 7 Pro.
Okay. Oh, why?
Pixel 6 Pro.
You use iPhone because of your job?
No, I use iPhone because people will literally exclude me from friend groups if I turn their chat green. Because Apple intentionally makes it to where they could be on RCS and they could do the bigger file transfers, but if your chat bubbles turn green, your media goes to crap.
Yep.
And that ruins the chat experience for a bunch of iPhone folks. And so I had to start using my iPhone specifically to talk to my friends.
It worked.
Do you walk around with 2 phones?
I do. Oh. Like my other, so we were recording with one and my other one's in my backpack. And so I keep the Pixel with me all the time because it's got some really cool stuff on it.
So you like the Google.
I'm Android in here.
Wow.
Yeah.
Mr. I need everything to be custom. Is that what,
it's like, I like making choices years before Apple tells me it's okay to do that.
Have you been Apple for a while? I see your phone out. That's why I'm asking that you're an Apple person.
Yeah. Yeah. I was not a Mac. I was a PC person for a long time. And then I got a Mac, and I really liked that experience. I have always been an iPhone person. And I think the only reason it just worked for me, and it's not one of the areas that I want to put a whole lot of thought into for whatever reason. It was doing what I needed it to.
Yeah, it is good. I'm not knocking it at all. It is good.
Yeah. Well, and I've had curiosity about other phones, but it's just not at the top of my list of sort of things to take on. Like, all right, now I'm going to try.
Do I want to intentionally break my friendships up?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some of them, maybe.
Well, I've gone to an Android phone twice because I just wanted to change. That was all. I remember I was a Galaxy S10. I think we're in the 20s now. And that phone, I remember I was on a run once and I slipped and it threw it up in the air. It went like 50 feet in the air, landed in a stream. And within seconds, the battery and everything was fried. And I still had another 20 miles on my run. And I had no phone, and I was just, and that meant I didn't even have a way to listen to music anymore and everything like that. But that's what ended that first journey in my Android. I liked it, but I liked my stuff working together. I liked my iPhone, my iPad, and my watch and everything. I love how it works together. I love the Apple ecosystem.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah, is anybody using a Windows computer?
I do.
You do on purpose?
Yeah.
Okay. And you said you were an Apple.
Yeah, I don't even remember when I switched. Actually, yeah, it was a friend of mine just suggested I try one, and I was sort of moving out of. I was a software developer, and I always had to have a Windows machine.
Yeah.
I don't even recall why I tried it, but and I was frustrated actually in the beginning because it was not the same thing, and it felt like I can't get to my files here or whatever. But then I was using a VM to spin up a Windows machine when I was still writing code.
I've done that.
And so, yeah, I don't recall why I switched, but now I feel very at home with it. I will say this, that I remember my PC crashing a lot. I mean, and I just thought that's what computers do, and it hasn't ever happened with my Mac.
Yeah.
So that's probably the reason why I stayed.
Oh, and I'll tell you this new M1 chip changed the world. You know, everything instantly on, never crashes, battery life like crazy. I'm still at 60%, and I've had this thing open since I think 5 a.m. and we're sitting at about 7 or 8 hours. I've had this sucker open today.
I like it a lot.
Yeah.
So I do like the ecosystem. I like the hardware. I like the connectivity. I like all the ways it talks and stuff like that. It's just the exclusivity that I have a problem with.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't want you as part of our group.
Mm-hmm.
We let you in.
It's Apple's intentional exclusivity, though.
Yeah.
In their choices.
It's called marketing. Yeah. They know how to do it.
I'm sure, but they're literally, so there's technology that would bring it up, like bring the media of those green chats up, and they could relatively easily add that.
Yeah.
But they're making a conscious choice not to because nobody cares.
Yeah.
Well, not an iPhone. We don't care. We started selling the iPhone whatever C. We got the whole market covered now. We can do whatever we want.
Yeah, and we could blame it on the whole security thing and all that, but the truth is it is more of a marketing ploy probably, and I know there's a lot to it. And even I look at Apple and there's things about it like, why has Mail not changed in 10 years? That app is the exact same, and it's awful. Yeah.
They did update it on the mobile device.
I think they gave up on it. Right?
Yeah, I don't even know because I haven't used it forever. I have stayed away from Apple's Mail. That app has always been awful.
I don't like it.
It's never changed, and I'm wondering what the heck is it about it that it cannot be updated to? Like, I want to send later.
You want to know something silly?
Things like that.
Outlook on a Mac is way better than Outlook on PC.
It is. I agree. Yeah.
All the features come out first there.
And Outlook is better than Apple Mail on a Mac. Not even close. So, all right. We were promising Colin that we were going to keep him for the first part of this. So we're almost at time. So I want to get to our last question with him, and then we're going to get into the data-centric stuff after that. So, all right. Easy. Last softball question is paper versus tablet for writing and then for reading.
Yeah.
What do you do?
Well, so as far as writing goes, when I tend to go to meetings or networking or something like that, I don't like to have my computer open or my phone open because it seems like I'm distracted. If I just have a pad of paper in front of me and I can scribble some notes on it, which probably nobody else can read but me, that feels better to me. And it almost feels like a whiteboard experience, which I know you can get that on a tablet or something like that. But, and then what I do is I just take a photo of that and send it to me, sort of like we do it with a whiteboard. We tend to write on it and then take a photo of it and then kind of transcribe it later on. What was the other question? It was
So reading, what do you read on? Do you read books?
I tend to do, depending on if I really want to digest something, I get the audiobook, I get the, online version of the book, and then I get the paperback book. And so I go back and forth between all three of those. There was a business book, Harvard Business Review on strategy book that was like Michael Porter, great. I was really trying to digest all that stuff. And I listened to the audiobook several times, and I highlighted stuff on the electronic book several times. And then I would read through the paperback depending on where I was. And I found that worked really well for me. That could be because I have ADHD, that I need to do all that kind of thing.
Yeah,
that's
it works
fair.
out well.
No, I think we all have a little bit of that.
Yeah.
What about you, Charlie?
So I like paper sometimes, and if it's a group that looks like they would be offended by me having my phone out taking notes, then I usually write it down on paper. I keep, in my backpack, I keep some paper and a pen. I usually keep a fountain pen, but I've run out of ink. Because sometimes I do just like the tactile aspect of it.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'll whip out, like I've got the pencil too, and I'll whip this out and just do a note in here in a meeting if I don't have paper or whatever. Or if I wanted to draw out a potential process or something. But ultimately, like most of my capture is just me talking into my phone. But if I'm in a meeting, I'll write it down. But networking is kind of the same way, except for, knowing that it's considered rude, I'll be like, I need to write that down or I'll forget it.
Yeah.
And everybody's like, oh no, go for it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's more like if I have the phone up in front of my face the whole time, that's it. But if I do always make a comment like, hey, I just want to take a note about that.
Yeah. I think that's appropriate. And if people get offended by that, that's more on them than us.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can probably say that I used a pencil or a pen less than 10 times last year.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't walk around with a pencil or a pen. I had to write maybe 2 or 3 checks last year, and I think that was, and so I don't use. People actually will come to meetings, and when they hand paper out, they always say, "Sorry, Charlie." They know that's how I am. I'm not like adamant about it. I'll never say it, but I'll never have it, and so it's just become my thing. I like everything. I just don't like paper. I don't want paper. It's my little way of saving the world. I don't know, but it's also made my life easier because I was taking notes and I never read them, and then it took up space.
Yeah.
If I take notes and I never read it in my iPad, it just takes up storage space, which is almost nothing. And so, and I like writing on my iPad. I do.
Well, now your iPad can transcribe your chicken scratch.
Because and I don't.
Text.
Most of the times, I notice when I write notes for meetings, 90% of the time I never read them again. It's the 1 or 2 times I need to go back. And mine's handwritten. I use GoodNotes. I think I've mentioned it maybe before on here. I don't like the infinite paper. I'm not a big fan of that. In other words, like you get on there, like Notability.
Yeah.
You can write forever and going to the right, going to the left, up or down. No, I like it to be a piece of paper, and I like the dots. Not lines, and I like to doodle while I'm thinking. I like to plan my week by writing it out. But I do it all in my iPad, and to the point where the case cannot be what you have, because that you can't just flip over real quick. And so Charlie has the
it's just the standard
keyboard
with the
case.
mouse pad,
Which is a beautiful one. It makes it almost a computer, but you can't flip it over to the other side. Apple just started, I think they have a new keyboard out there, and I just bought it, and where you can flip over to the other side now.
Yeah.
It doesn't have the same tilt and stuff like that when you're typing, but I can flip it, and so I can hold it like it's a pad of paper again, instead of having to take it off of that keyboard like you would have to do.
So if we're getting deep into this, do you have to go?
We promised Colin today. He's a very busy man.
Let's put a pin in that and come back to it, because if you want to talk about Apple cases,
we can go off into those directions. But Colin, we just wanted to have you on today because we knew that you would bring some great insight into our first Data Rumble. So thank you so much for joining us here today. Any parting shots you'd like to leave us with?
Not really. I was going to say that, generally when I'm taking notes, I'm not really taking them to follow up back with them, but it helps me to digest things while
Yeah, that's a great
point.
way of, yeah.
It also helps me to stay on track because, I tend to free associate so if I write something down and I'm having a conversation, it helps me. I can look at it and it brings me back to the point that I was trying to make.
It's like a hook in meditation. It's just
Exactly.
keeps you focused.
Yep.
Okay.
Colors do that for me. So when I want to remember something, I write it in red or I write it in a different color and I never go back and look at it, but I can remember exactly what I wrote in red on a piece of paper yesterday.
Wow, that's cool.
In GoodNotes. But all the black ink, most of it I don't remember. Isn't that funny?
That's weird.
And I do that all the time. I've been doing that with colored pencils since college. Really? So I literally would walk around with 3 or 4 different color pens. My wife has stories of that. It makes fun of me for that.
There are there are a lot of strategies to tie like memories to to certain things and whatnot. So I didn't know you had such a lifelong journey with color. So I want to hear more about
There's
that.
got to be some research on that, right?
Yeah, definitely. There's definitely some.
It helped me. And back then I was a lot better at it. Like now all I do is if I want to remember something, I make it red. Back then it was my headings were a certain color, my actions were a certain color, my thoughts were a certain color.
Some people hear notes in color. And yeah, like they hear music and each note is its own color.
Oh, wow. You're talking, like literally sound.
Are they on LSD?
No, it's how they see it.
Oh.
Or it's how they perceive it. It's like the empty brain thing. Like I think there's it's less than half of people don't have an internal eye. Like they don't see images in their brain.
Wow. Well, we're gonna let Colin go. Where are you off to? It's going to lead us to our next episode. So where are you off to?
I have a music lesson. Actually, I'm just I'm just a dabbler. I'm not a pro musician here in Nashville. I'm taking vocal lessons, guitar, eventually a little bit of piano, but also like songwriting stuff, so that I can go out and play at some open mic nights here in Nashville.
And the dude can jam on a drum set. Let me tell you,
Nice.
Colin is great. He's got a set at his house, and he's played it a couple times. Is absolutely amazing at it. And when you're in Nashville, you always have a lot of people that are incredibly gifted at the programming side and the music side. And our next episode is actually data in music. So that's why I thought it would be a good way to leave that. So, Colin, thanks again for joining us today. And I know we're going to continue this episode, but off you go. And thanks again for helping to welcome in our season 2.
Yeah, and thank you guys for having me. And anytime the real person doesn't show up for I'm happy to step in.
All right.
Thanks,
Love
guys.
it.
So whenever you decide to step on the stage, let me know. I'll come watch.
No,
You said, but you said.
I'm not telling anybody.
All right, fine.
when-
But what
when
if
I
I
do that.
guarantee that I'll be there with a very supportive attitude?
I don't know.
Well, I'll probably know. So I'll let you know.
I'll tell you, I've sang in front of my friends and small groups of people and tech conferences and things like that. But where I'm doing this is a little above where I've been before. So I'm pretty nervous. And
You've already got a set date and stuff?
well, it's just a sign up. You go
Okay.
early enough, you sign up, and then hopefully they call you up.
Okay.
But
I've been to shows like that at the basement before. I like them.
that's not where it's gonna be.
That's where it's going to be.
All right.
All right. Thanks again.
Thanks,
Colin.
guys.
We'll see you
a good one.
here. And I can't wait to hear about how that goes.
Yeah, I'll tell you. But
Okay. That's fair. You should video it and then decide whether or not to share the video.
that's a good idea. All right. Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Later.
Bye.
All right. So now that he's left, what should we say about him?
Oh, I don't know, but that was fun to have him.
Yeah.
I knew we'd only get him for a little bit here today, but I just thought it'd be fun to get a different perspective on the personal side of the Data Rumble.
Yeah.
But yeah,
It's good to have a more loose vibe after those first 10 episodes. Because
Yeah.
they did feel very structured. And so getting into this, like, well, he's going to come sit with us for a bit, and then he can leave. Who cares?
And hangs out. Next time we'll have drinks here for our guests. But I think this has been a good little setup. We've gone into kind of the fun ones. Any other personal ones that are that you want to hit?
As far as one versus the other,
yeah.
I mean, there's a silly one that's cable TV versus cable cutting, but I don't know if we want to do that.
And you could almost, like I am a cable subscriber now with YouTube TV. Mm-hmm. I'm being charged $75 a month now
to watch ad TV.
To watch ad TV.
I think that's a crime.
And I'm at that point where I'm like, what am I getting out of those dollars? Now, I am part of a generation where you came home and you turn on the TV and you leave it on.
I grew up in that.
Yeah.
It was just on all the time.
And it's still part of our DNA, have to admit. My wife and I, both of us are guilty of that. Speaking of my wife and I, can I tell you my funny story of my pens and craziness going back to before? You want to hear
with the colors?
Yeah. Do you want to hear the colors things?
Yeah, sure.
All right. It won't take long. So met my wife and we found out we met. I was graduating from college. She was 1 year behind me. I was taking 19 credit hours that semester. So I was always busy. First real time that we spent together, I was like, oh, we're in the same class. She was like, oh, wow, I didn't know that. We're in the same marketing class. So she goes, let's study together. So as she'll say it, she went and got all prettied up and all that. And I show up with notebooks, my 6 pens, because I have a different color that does a different thing for each heading. And I'm sitting there and she comes up just looking gorgeous. Mm-hmm. No books, no notebook, no pens. She thought that was a metaphor for going out. And I'm ready to study. And that was technically our first anything together.
It was a study date.
And she's like, oh, this is a guy that literally brought his notebooks to the study date and his 6 color pens. And then she saw my notes and she's like, oh, he actually does that with his notes. And so that was before our first date. That was our first experience. And she actually went out on a date with me and things happened ever since. So
quick question. Did you guys actually study or did you just wind up talking?
Oh, it was 5 minutes. And then she quickly said, I'm hungry. And I was like,
so it turned into a date.
It turned into, but it was one of those go to the cafeteria on campus kind of thing. And then the next one, we went to a real place. And it was called Dominic's, which doesn't exist anymore, but it was an Italian place in Toledo, Ohio. And that was our first real date. And in 10 days will be our 26th wedding anniversary.
Nice.
Yeah. So I guess it worked out okay. But even my daughter does that.
The color thing?
Yeah.
Huh.
She does. And she writes with regular. She has she'll even bedazzle her notebooks.
I'm gonna look this up because there's got to be some very direct studies on memory and color.
Well, typing notes, I don't think I can do it. Like
it's different. Yeah.
Yeah. And I know in that future episode, I'm forcing you into telling us how you capture data because you explained that to me and I was absolutely amazed. So folks, you got to listen to how Charlie Yielding processes data. It's I think we're making that episode 13 where we're planning to do. That one to me is really fascinating. And when you explained it to me on how you capture information, it's a little bit different than note taking. But I just can't take notes by typing. I don't comprehend it. I don't remember them. I think I also strategize better by drawing with a pencil, but I do it all with my iPad. I do.
So it's not the pen and paper necessarily. It's the association with the word and the memory of it.
Well, and you think about it, typing a letter versus literally drawing the letter, right, or writing it out, you can see how your brain processes that differently.
Well, you spend more time with it, for sure.
It's more intentional, and therefore, you can plan better. Like, to me, there's nothing better than a whiteboard. Now, I will play with markers all day long. I like to teach that way, And the minute I get into a meeting and I hear the word brainstorm, I am up and ready to go with a marker. That to me, I can't do on a computer. I definitely can't.
That's true.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a tactile thing to it. Like my wife is the same way. Like if she really wants to commit something to memory, she makes flashcards out of it. And the act of writing them out
daughter does the same.
is how it sticks.
Yeah. She never looks at them again. My son said that he, when he does notes in school, so he's my one that's graduating from high school this year, he will write it and say it 3 times, and then he never looks at it again, and he's a straight A student.
Sweet.
He's also got that photo. He says, I remember exactly where it is on a page. I'm like, I've never been that. I am somebody that has to experience it, and I have to work at it. So
I think looking into notes is kind of like looking into somebody's brain, or as close as you can get to it. Because you're talking about the doodles. Like you see a lot of doodles on my stuff.
Yeah.
And then my notes are way more organized than they used to be. But when I was taking notes, like before I actually learned how to take notes, I was a mess.
Yeah.
But my wife's like, it was like looking into like a published work, like looking at her notes, because they were like, it was so neat and it was well planned out, and like nothing went over the margins, and the letters all stayed consistent, and it's a very organized way to approach it. And she was also a straight A student.
Yeah, that's pretty cool stuff. All right, ready to get into the data ecosystem? We'll go quickly through this. We're going to make this a quick round. What any of those intrigue you that you want to start with?
What do you think about the fluency versus literacy? Is that something you could talk about?
All of these I have strong opinions on.
Okay, so then I'd actually like to hear. I'd like to hear, and just so everybody's aware, like at the top of the show, Charlie was talking about us getting recommendations, and that's actually a recommendation that was sent over. And when I first saw it, I was like, I have no idea what they're talking about. And so I would actually like to know what do you consider the difference between literacy and fluency, and why is that even like an argument?
Yeah, so I think this is helpful in thinking of the future of when we say data skills. So the way I look at it, and when I say it to people like this that are in the know, I think they agree with me pretty much. But I see fluency as a different level in the literacy evolution. So I use the word at the top.
Okay, so fluency is the tippy top.
It is the data scientist.
Okay, so just like with regular language, fluency is like mastery.
Yes, okay. and try to follow the same thing. So the way I now break it out is I look at the data literacy evolution, let's say, as 4 levels.
Okay.
The first is awareness and appreciation.
Which is what we work on.
We do, and we blur into the second level, which is literacy. So to me, literacy is the ability to understand data and be actionable with it. So awareness is obviously knowing how to spell data, right? And just knowing or appreciating that data can help me, but I don't know what to do with it.
And that it's actually called data.
And that it's also called data, not data or data. And it is singular if you're talking about it with people, those kind of things. So that to me is the second level, is literacy. So when I'm teaching literacy at a university or anywhere, I know I'm not trying to create a data scientist. I'm trying to take somebody to a point where probably they can dabble a little bit in Excel, but they're taking data and doing something actionable with it. That's it. That's my definition of data literacy these days. The next level, the third level, is proficiency. But it really, to me, it goes between literacy and fluency.
Yeah, you just had a step in between.
Yeah, and what that really is I can do some insights. I can maybe play with data a little bit, and I can provide some insights that lead to some type of action.
Okay, so I'm proficient.
You're definitely proficient.
But I'm not fluent.
You're probably not my definition of fluency, and that's okay, right?
Yeah,
that really is the data scientist to me. Like you've got to have a bar, and to me, that's the person that can take any messy data set, clean it up enough to be able to manipulate it in any way, whether it's insights. And insights to me is, I probably should get into this next, which is data science versus data analytics, but that is really creating a visual of the data.
Yeah.
But you also should be able to model with that data, which means creating machine learning algorithms or models that predict things for the future. Or you can do like the AI type modeling. That to me is when we're in the fluency level.
Okay.
Yeah. So I like to use those two. So I think that's important because if we're talking about making people data literate, it scares people. They think I got to take statistics. No, you don't. You don't. You just have to appreciate data, be able to understand it to a degree where you can read it, read an insight at least. You don't have to create the insight, just be able to read an insight, turn into action.
That's actually one of the things that I'm excited when we do our Data In News podcast. Is it's going to be, it's data is that applicable to where in order to ingest information correctly or as accurately as possible, you need at least the second step. So you need to be data literate. And not just aware.
If you're putting a bar chart in anything like a news article, you are assuming your audience is data literate.
Or you're banking on the fact that they're not. Because I've shared in text message threads with you before, like intentional.
Oh yeah.
Intentional.
That's true. That's true.
Like analytics that are meant to be misleading.
That is absolutely true. And basically what we're saying is using graphs or visuals to sell a point, even though the graph or visual really isn't telling the truth, kind of thing. So I'll switch over to data science versus data analytics.
So I have a question about that.
Okay.
Because I seem to understand data science is like the second part of what you just talked about. And the analytics is more the visualization, the presentation.
Sure.
The interpretation in some ways, but it's not the back end stuff. So is there a rub in the industry over which is better, how to separate the two?
Yeah.
Like, what does that look like?
Yeah, it really, there is. And I see it in the academic world first because you have business schools that teach analytics.
Sure.
But then they're teaching data science classes. And then in computer science, they're teaching data science. They blur into analytics, which they should. And then they're doing two different flavors. And then they get mad at each other. And then the College of Business is mad because they're teaching data science and the data science in computer science. And so we see that it's taught in two different ways. In other words, usually data science is more of the hard skill and analytics is more of the business skill. And then it blurs. And when data science became a thing, like, because I'm from a college of business and I'm a data scientist now. I mean, I would definitely call myself more of a data scientist than a business professor. But originally I was doing that because I wanted the College of Business to have the data science curriculum and not the computer science department.
Okay.
And so it was a little bit of selfishness is why I wanted to get so hardcore. Then I just liked it and I was good at it and all the other kind of good stuff. So, but I purposely now make the division between analytics and data science. So to me, data science is all about modeling to make predictive, make predictions specifically, or to the use of algorithms to do some type of action. Insights, stories, the crafting of a summary of data is more analytics. And turning it into some type of business goal or any type of goal, to me, that's analytics.
Yeah.
Is that how you see it too?
That is how I see it, but I just didn't know that there was a divide. But I get that in academia because the forward-thinking business analytics is like exactly what every business leader wants. And most of the data science teams that I know of right now exist specifically to help make better business decisions. And it's not like AI is not focused on operations past like chatbots. And there's some people out there trying to do RPA. But it's so inconsistent right now that you can't grow it. So
and RPA is
it's robotic processing automation. It's basically just telling a computer, click here, type in this thing and this thing to log in, click there. And so anytime somebody changes a website, which happens frequently, you got to go back and reprogram the RPA robot. You'll hear people call them robots all the time. Yeah. And
it's just creating the automation for things.
Yeah, it's a part of modern business automation.
Yeah. And I think so, in the academic world, we have to do that because we have silos so much. In the business world, it's okay for an analytics person to dabble into data science. You get that. But I think what the problem ends up being is if you are a data scientist, you think your solution has to be a predictive model for people. And the truth is it could just be a bar chart.
Okay.
And so there's a lot of times they're just the ability to understand what will lead to the right decision
Yeah.
sometimes is way overcomplicated in the data science world.
Okay. And so they can tend to fight over the fence at each other.
They do. They do. I actually was with a company yesterday, and we're talking about doing a workshop for them, and it was all about the communication skills.
Yeah.
It's all, and it was interesting. You know, I asked this one question, and it was really interesting the answer I got, and it was,
Wait, can you share?
yes, because I'm not going to give anything away.
Okay.
I promise. So basically, you have the analyst who has to work with the generalist within their organization, right? So it doesn't matter what the industry is. You have the tech person working with the non-tech person. I asked the tech people, I said, do you look at the non-tech person as a client or a partner? Because what they were complaining about is the relationship between them was adversarial.
It was a us and them thing.
Yeah. And not adversarial. That's not even the right word because they liked them. They wanted to work together. And they said, well, they're definitely our clients. And I said, then why are you mad that they act like a client? And they're like, huh? And I'm like, no, seriously, what you need is a partner. They're the one that knows the business. You're the one that knows the tech. And so when they come to you and say, I need a dashboard, I need a model, I need a this, and then you start asking questions as if they're a client, they'll get guarded up because that means when you treat somebody like a client, they're thinking more money or more time or, instead of, I want to help you get there. I want to be your partner. And they're not acting that way. Then they go off in the corner and they create their little model or their dashboard or whatever their visual is, and they bring it back and that's not what they wanted. Then they go back again. And it's like, or why don't you just walk with them? And they're like, oh, I never thought of it that way. And it's like, it's interesting. So that's a little bit more of the dichotomy with data science, data analytics, and then the third component, which is the generalist in the room. So that's obviously a fight I see, or I guess a blurring, nobody knowing one or the other.
Well, it's like so I run into this in my career where they're like, we got a data science team, and I was like, oh, what do they do? And they're like, yeah, they put up our BI dashboards and all that kind of stuff. And
that's an analytics team.
Yeah, exactly. That's the point I'm making. Is like a true data science team is a team that, like you said, is using information to build predictive models on whether it's like how many people do we hire next quarter to maximize our usage and therefore profits. Yeah. And then they work on training that up the entire time that they're using it and stuff. And so that's a data science team. But so do you feel like there's some sort of like, is there some sort of like credibility taken away when you label somebody an analyst versus a data scientist?
Well, right now, if you're an analyst, you're not as good as a data scientist.
But that's not actually true, though.
Of course not. But it's the perception because data science is this sexy thing out there. And I think we're running in. It'll be interesting to see what happens right now in the future with AI becoming. It's the new internet.
It will be ubiquitous.
Oh, but right now, data science teams, most companies don't understand their value because they don't know how to use the models that they're building. Where the visualizations, they know how to use that. So analytics teams are very useful right now in most companies if used properly, of course.
Right. But they should be studying how to best use visualization. Like the successful people I know that work in analytics are actively trying to find ways to communicate complex data visually and simply.
Yep.
Like that's their goal.
And that's data storytelling too, right?
Yeah, it is.
And that brings us to one that we have up here, data storytelling versus data presentations. And so a lot of people think that a data story is just somebody getting in front of somebody and telling a story, but they only think of it as a presentation. When you hear data storytelling, what act comes to your mind? Do you think of it as sitting with a PowerPoint?
No, I think based off of what we talked about before,
sure.
I think data storytelling is just, it can be whatever. It can be anecdotal. It can be based off of a PowerPoint. It doesn't have to be, but if you're doing it in a business setting, then it would need to be. And I've actually been thinking about this so let me take a step back. We have a PowerPoint at work that we use. It's like our introduction to G Squared. And so I recently have been thinking about changing just redoing the whole thing, which happens if over time and whatnot. And in it, just having one piece of data per slide that facilitates like the empowerment of that piece of the story, and then seeing how many slides I can come up with to tell the same story that I tell right now.
Yeah.
Because I use data lots with it, and we do keep it simple visually and stuff like that. But I think that I can adequately build a slide story that uses the slide mostly as the visualization in each step, accompanying the story I tell.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna point to an article that I saw that really spurred me adding this part to this one, and it's called "What Can You Do About the Danger of Data Stories?" And this was not somebody that was firm on one side, but it was kind of giving both sides of it. So, and we'll link to it in the show notes. It's from Ted Cozzillo, and I saw this on LinkedIn, but somebody commented, I don't think it was Ted, about there's danger with data storytelling. We've got to stop doing it because it tends to lead to skewing the data or the results to somebody's personal agenda. And I'm like, that's not data storytelling. That is skewing results for your agenda.
Yeah.
Data storytelling is telling a story of what the data is actually saying. That's a true data story. And then putting it into a context that people can understand, and then it allow them to compel to make the right decision. It is not to get my decision into you. It is allowing the data, if it's a data story.
Unless you're being fraudulent.
Well, which is personal agenda stuff, right? It goes right back to it. And of course, there's going to be that side of it. But to say that data storytelling is bad.
Yeah. You know what I think about that comment?
What's that?
I think that that's somebody who doesn't understand how it works.
Yeah.
That's scared about what's coming because they have no idea how to verify what's right and wrong, which is exactly why we do this.
That's right. And, it's the person that says, I hear this all the time. I don't trust your data. And,
yeah.
And it's like, so you trust nothing? It's like,
you can, so just from an argument perspective, you can just jump in and say that nowadays and get away with it.
Absolutely.
Because we're in a time where there's no dubious authority on like is this good data or not. It's up to you to figure it out, and that's it's a personal responsibility to learn how all this stuff kind of works. And the younger generation gets it in a way that like folks that haven't had technology most of their lives are not, but it's going to change no matter what.
And it goes again to data is a capturing of an imperfect view of reality. It's imperfect. And if you say you do not trust data because it's not perfect, you're right. It's not perfect. It is the best that it can be. Does it help you make a better decision? Does it give you a better glimpse of reality? And in most cases, it does. If it's a 5.82, whatever that number is, if it's actually 5.79, does that really change your decision that you were trying to make? If it does, then great. I wouldn't trust it. If you're that close and, things, but a lot of times I'm just looking for indicators that help me make better decisions. And so, I don't need bad data, but if I got data that's close, and again, I'm not using that number to, if it's life and death, I'm all in. I want perfect data, right? If it's saving a couple of minutes on my drive to work kind of thing, I'm okay if I'm off by 5 minutes.
Well, that's where statistics and sample size comes in.
That's right.
And so,
and do you trust it? And it's not always perfect.
There are a lot of inflammatory articles or just clickbaity type articles that are like these people lied and those people lied, and it's usually them adjusting p-values, and messing with the numbers, and that happens, but it's dishonest. And if it's found out to be dishonest, then people should know, and they do find out. And like in the digital world we live in nowadays, if you lie, you're going to get caught. And so on the front end, they may deceive us for a bit, but it's going to come out.
Yeah, and remember, data does not lie. If you look at DIKW, right? Data is at the rawest form. You then turn it into information. And your interpretation of the information yeah, you can lie at that point, right?
You can.
But the data itself does not lie, and I hear that one over and over again.
There's a famous internet person who created Steam, and he had sage advice from 2 decades ago or more, and it's just don't lie to the internet. They will find out.
That's exactly right. All right, so I think we're at the point where we probably can. We've got a couple others on here, but I'm seeing like, I don't know if I want to talk about ChatGPT 3 yet because I think that's an episode, and we're going to prep for that one. I do have an account, and I've been playing with it. We even created an intro, and we almost used it. Maybe we should do that as an alternative. Should I read it? You want me just to do a sneak peek of that, or we want to save that for another?
It is completely up to you.
All right. So this is what was written this morning. I said, write an intro to the Data for All podcast. And what came up was, this is from, again, using OpenAI's API for ChatGPT 3, which if you don't know what that means, trust me, wait until about episode 15-ish and we'll get to it. And here's what it said. Welcome to the Data for All podcast. We are your hosts, Alex and Bill, and we are here to take you on a journey through the world of data. We will explore the ways in which data can be used to make better decisions, improve processes, and uncover insights that would otherwise remain hidden. We will be speaking with experts from all disciplines, from business owners to data scientists, to give you a comprehensive look at the power of data. Join us as we dive deep into the data-driven world and discover its many possibilities. It's almost perfect.
It's really good.
And what if I did the same thing, and instead of I'm going to try it. So what did I'm going to take the exact
are
same
you going to
thing.
be Alex or Bill? I want to be Bill because there's a book with an owl Bill in it that I like. So.
Well, I would rather be Alex.
Okay.
You know why? Because I used to play Alex in my Python videos. That was my alternative ego. I would always be Alex, the Python programmer. So there you go. So I'm changing it to
what?
right.
No, what? Your Python videos where you were an alternate personality?
So you
can't just gloss over that.
It's not that big a deal. When we create online courses, we had a case that you were with a consulting company that had the business analyst, the data scientist, and the Python programmer. And each of the faculty members played a different role. And so you saw this guy named Alex, and he was the Python programmer. And so all the videos were done by Alex, not by Charlie, in this one course I did. So
and how long ago was this when you made it?
that was only a couple of years ago.
Okay.
Yeah. You want to go find those videos of me being Alex? Nope.
I do.
They are the proud property of a university that's out there. All right. Write an intro to the Data for All podcast with Charlie and Charlie. Welcome to the Data for All podcast with Charlie and Charlie. We are here to help you understand and make sense of the data that shapes our world. All right, that's enough, but it works. It works. So that's going to definitely be something. So what are some other things that people can look forward to this season?
Hang on a second while I pull up the season thing.
Oh, well, I don't even know if we have topics yet, do we?
We do.
We have a couple, but we are. But I think the focus
data and news, and that's going to be one of my favorite ones.
Yeah, and I think the point is the data I think is going to be really fun. It's about looking at data in a specific context and bringing one of the experts in for that.
Are you trying to get me to ruin your so you actually tell us what you're most excited about this season as far as upcoming podcasts?
I'm 100% ready for the Data in Bourbon one.
Yeah.
You know that.
Yeah. So I feel like you should be the one to bring this up because you've made it happen and whatnot.
Yes. We're just going to let that one happen. It's going to be a different format for us because it will be our first remote. And we're going to try that out because we love this studio, and we'll continue to use our wonderful friend Jeremy here and the great work that he does. But we have somebody that's in Lexington, Kentucky that is going to join us, and he's got a love for data. And I reached out to him and he said, I'd love to talk data and bourbon. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And I am a novice at the bourbon area, but I thought that would be funny because in the tech world, everybody loves bourbon,
Yeah, I'm excited about that one.
especially if you're in Tennessee or in Kentucky. So
Yeah, we're close enough to Kentucky to get the bourbon, to be in the initial bourbon wave.
yeah, I'll tell you what I'm most looking forward to this season. I'll be honest, being more informal.
Yeah, I actually like that a lot.
Yeah, I really do. I'm gonna hear about what's going on because we're going to be more regular. In season 1, we did a lot of batching of our episodes. We did like 4 of them within a couple of days, and then that was basically 2 months worth. And so we did not talk dates. We didn't do any of that kind of stuff. So in the next ones, we're always going to do ours within a week or 2 of when they're being published.
Yeah, we're trying to hit the topical window.
Yeah, and that's why, like we said, ChatGPT is everywhere right now. In the academics, we're seeing students already using it for their homework.
Yeah, and so that's actually the biggest conversation that I see that's going on right now. Is like, how do you tell?
Yeah,
Because a
so good.
A student was on the internet saying that he ran it through and his paper came out 99% real, but then his teachers knew somehow. And so it's a real back and forth between teachers and students. It's like, who's going to figure out if it's plagiarized or not?
Well, and what we're finding on our campus with that topic is there'll be one thing that's just blatantly wrong. And then that's when you kind of figure it out, and so there, it's still bullshitting, right?
Yeah.
And so it does pretty good. Like, I mean, I can write code with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's a lot. So we'll get into those kind of topics. But again, I like the idea of just, starting our podcast with how's your week going? That kind of thing. I think that's going to be fun. I'm going to talk about smartifying my home. And I look forward to sharing that fun stuff as we get going here as well.
Heck yeah.
Cool. Well, any other parting shots?
No, not from this side.
All right, we're trying to get our sign off perfected, and we haven't done it yet. No, probably
I just do
not.
whatever.
Well, so we're going to stay informal, so why not? So I like to say any parting shots to Charlie, and he says no,
not nothing right now. Absolutely not. Never ever.
Oh, never ever. It will end that. So for the Data for All podcast, I'm Charlie Apigian.
And I'm Charlie Yielding.
And until next time.